I always start by saying how no, the word no. It's such a small, simple word that has the power to enrage the soul and fuel the spirit. A two-edged sword that can either hurt you or heal you. You see, the best thing anyone has ever told me once was a quiet no. I never thought such a simple negative comment could change my life and open so many positive doors. Where do I start? With a story I honestly never thought I would tell. Never in my wildest dreams did I thought myself capable of actually finding a way to live my wildest dreams. But I guess I should start from the beginning. I was born in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, to a father who always told me to reach for the stars, and a mother whose spirit I inherited. I never knew it then, but it was so important to instill that value at such a young age. They taught me that my dreams are just a reflection of the endlessness of my capabilities. Although I had that at home, and they were very understanding, and even though I was quite an odd little child growing up, always wanting to do things that were not expected of a little girl from Saudi to do, I was surrounded by social expectations of what I should be, and there was this little box that they keep trying to shove me into. And for the longest time, I'm like, okay, fine, I'll sit in the box, I'll fit in the box. For the longest time, I tried to play that role that everyone expected me to play, until one day, honestly, my spirit could no longer be silenced and nothing could hold me back from this love of adventure. So I was faced with a crossroads. Either take the biggest risk of my life and pursue this enigmatic calling, this calling that I didn't even know what it was, or go back to Saudi and pick the more traditional lifestyle of waiting for Prince Charming to come pick me out of a lineup of an army of equally deserving women. Of course, that didn't sit well with me. It's not what I wanted to do, and therefore it's not what my soul was trying to tell me I needed. So as fate might have it, that was never meant to be the path I walked, waiting for him to come and sweep me up. I wasn't meant to walk a path at all. I was meant to climb one. So as soon as I reached this critical conclusion that I needed something to move me, to change me, I set out trying to find this answer. And for the longest time, I went online, Google surfing, trying to find adventures here, this, there, and I couldn't find this answer to what I was trying this calling in my heart. I didn't know what it was. Until randomly, a girl said she's climbing Kilimanjaro. And I was automatically curious. I'm like, oh, okay, what's Kilimanjaro? Where is Kilimanjaro? And she said it's the highest peak of Africa, and it takes this long, and it's almost 6,000 meters, and I was instinctively curious, automatically. I felt this latch to this idea of climbing Kilimanjaro. And of course, me being from Saudi, it's not enough to have an idea. You still have to convince the army of family behind you to come on board on this idea. So for the longest time, I was so nervous about even telling them about this thing I wanted to do. So I was quiet. I'm like, no, this is wrong. I shouldn't do this. It's not what girls do. And then I looked at myself and I said, come on, seriously, why? Just because no one else has done it before, or just because it's expected of a girl to be married by my age? No, I'm going to do it. So I needed the conviction to be scrutinized and not be fazed. The strength to actually go up to my dad and tell him what I wanted. So luckily, I wasn't in the same city. I was in Dubai. He was in Saudi. So I picked up the phone. I called him and I told him, hi, Daddy, how are you? And as soon as I said, hi, Daddy, he's like, what do you want? As soon as I said, hi, Daddy, I'm like, nothing. So, now I'm moving back to Saudi and I'm thinking of doing this thing. And as soon as I told him I want to climb the highest peak of Africa, he said, no. And that was that no I was telling you about, that trigger that ignited in my soul. That little two-letter word grew and swelled in my mind till it had claws and it was fanging at my soul. So I very politely said, okay, hung up. And that same night, I went back home and I couldn't sleep. I stayed up till, I think the sun came up by the time I was done typing this email. And mind you, I'm severely dyslexic, so I was like this the entire time, throwing all what my dad taught me straight back at him. You taught me to be great. You taught me I can do whatever I want. You taught me this. You taught me that. Why are you giving me limits now? And I remember that anxiety. People ask me what was the strangest moment. They think it's a summit. No, it's not. It was sending that email. So I wrote that email, and I remember I had my finger on the send button. And I was shivering. I was so scared because we are raised not to oppose them in our culture. We are raised to try as much as we can to go with what they want. And that's not really what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be who we are. So I said, okay, fine, I'm going to send it. So I pressed the send button, and I would be lying if I wouldn't admit that I ran around 10 times and freaked out and thought, oh my God, I'm going back to Saudi and I'm never going to see the sun again. So I sent that email, and me and my father speak almost every day. Me and my parents speak almost every day, and he ignored me for a couple of days. And every single moment, not hour, every single moment that passed, I felt, oh my God, I did something wrong. But not once did I regret sending that email. And that's when I knew how much this meant to me. And surely enough, a few days later, he sends one sentence. He says, I love you, you're crazy, go for it. Little did either of us know how much this simple sentence would change my life. So that was it. That was the moment it started for me. I trained. I had no idea what I was doing. I was on Kilimanjaro. I nearly died, halfway up and halfway down. But I'll tell you what, when I finally got to the summit and saw how beautiful it was, and mind you, this was after 10 hours of walking, I was bleeding from places I didn't think I would, your eyes, my ears, and I was snowblind. And I got up there and I saw how beautiful the earth was from that point of view. And it wasn't actually just a physical point of view, it was an emotional point for me. And that's it. I knew I was destined to chase summits. Fast forward a few months later when I came back home and I couldn't stop talking about mountaineering and all I wanted to do is climb. I got approached by Lamira Rima bint Bandar, a princess from Saudi Arabia, and she said, I'm putting a team together to be the first 10 Saudi women to reach base camp. And I said, okay, I'm going to go. And I called my dad up and I told him, I want to go to base camp. He's like, another mountain. I said, it's not a mountain, it's walking. I'm just walking to base camp. He's like, okay, fine, but if you ever tell me Everest, I'm going to hang up on you. I'm like, okay. So I go to base camp, and and this was 10 days into base camp, and it was difficult. New team, everything was different this time, but still the experience was amazing. And I got to base camp, and I saw Everest for the first time, and I knew I was in trouble. That thing was calling me. And people tell you, yeah, people climb for different reasons. I don't know why. I just saw it, and I knew. In my heart, I'm going to come back to it. I knew it. So I kept that secret, and I didn't tell a single person that I decided to climb Everest, but I started climbing smaller mountains. So in a year, I did 8 mountains. So can you imagine the conversations with my dad? I keep calling me after a few months, can I do this? Can I do that? And he slowly moved. His mentality also slowly moved. And people ask me, what's the best thing about what you've done? It's seeing him grow. Climbing mountains was amazing. It was an amazing experience. But seeing him grow with me, seeing my mom and him grow with me was incredible. Coming from you have to come back to Saudi and get married to when is the next mountain is amazing. So I started climbing and I did one after the other. And then one day I found myself walking up the Hillary step and I was just, am I seriously doing this? And when I stood there, and after I came back down, because honestly, people ask me what was I thinking when I was up there? Shower and a burger, okay? That shower, burger, I hope I come back down alive, basically. It wasn't like National Geographic make it seems to be very glorious. It wasn't, but it was a different kind of triumph for me. So when I came back down, I really worried that standing up there would be more of a selfish act rather than a selfless one. But honestly, all my worries were put to rest when one day, randomly, this girl sent me an email, and she said that my ridiculous notion of attempting Everest gave her the courage to ride a bicycle. And anyone that knows how Saudi is knows that only recently women were allowed to ride bicycles. So this little girl, from my ridiculous climbing, had the courage to ride a bicycle. You see, today she has the courage to ride a bicycle. But tomorrow, she's going to be in control of her own fate. And that made it mean the world to me. And of course, you expect being a Saudi girl, doing all these things, you get positive remarks, negative remarks, more negative sometimes, but it's okay. You take it all. with a grain of salt, but it means that it's changing, the mentality is changing. And if I was capable of climbing 14 mountains in 3 years, and actually today is my anniversary of my first summit ever, Kilimanjaro, is today, ironically, which is so random, then you're capable of doing whatever you want. I mean, what is climbing a mountain in front of you, achieving your ultimate goal, whatever it is, whether it's having kids, having the big family, I salute you, or whether it's being a doctor or being an engineer somewhere, do whatever you want, but make sure that it's your Everest, it's your summit, it's what you want to do. I grew up dreaming of going to the stars. I still dream of going to the stars. This was just one step closer for me to get there. If you walk away and forget everything I say, I would just want you to remember that nothing is impossible, even for a Saudi girl to stand on top of the world, literally. Be bold, be brave, because after all, history was never made by the faint-hearted. Thank you.